Patrick, what's the reason you don't edit your own films?
Well, I actually do quite a bit of editing. On Wordplay, I did a lot of editing on that film. That was our first film. I've done less and less as we move forward. When we were making Wordplay, that was our first film, and really the only disagreement that my wife Christine and I had about the making of that film was, I said, you know, I'd like to just edit it because I know how to edit, it'll save us a lot of money, and let's do it. And she said, no. She said, we got to bring in a fresh set of eyes. And I remember thinking, okay, fine, we'll hire an editor, we'll have to raise more money. But, you know, I'm sure my friend Doug Blush is not available, because he's never available, because he's always working. But I'll call him and see if he can recommend somebody. I called him, he was available, and that made all the difference in the world. I mean, you really, because I shoot my own footage, I'm really close to the material already. But I think you end up with a better film if you have another set of eyes, a very creative individual like Doug. Doug Blush is just a spectacularly talented editor. And I learned a lot there. He saw things in the footage that I would have never seen. So, that was an important decision for us.
Like what? I'm just curious, what examples? Like, were there certain details that you overlooked maybe, that it was like a light bulb went off?
Well, I mean, Doug is really funny and really smart. He's got a great sense of humor. And so, for instance, in Wordplay, we had all these different characters who are somehow involved with the New York Times crossword puzzle. Either they make the puzzle, or they are really good at solving it, or we had a lot of sort of famous people in the film who liked the puzzle quite a bit. So Doug just had a great ability to take one character and put it right next to another character and another character. He had a great way of sort of lining up the film. And so, for instance, there was a scene in the movie where we're interviewing Jon Stewart. And Jon Stewart, I mean, he was great. He was just really funny, not surprisingly. And he says, in his interview, he says, he's holding the puzzle in his hand, and he says, I have tremendous respect for people who make these puzzles. I don't know how they do it. Quite frankly, I don't know why they do it. And then that's where Doug cut to Merle Regal, who's a very famous crossword puzzle constructor. He's driving down the street, and he says, oh yeah, look at that sign there, Dunkin' Donuts. Put the D at the end, you have unkind donuts, which I've had a few of in my day. Like, that's a 1 + 1 is 3. That is such a good cut. I would have never thought to do that. And, that's what a great editor does. I mean, they're great. They're not just great on story. They're also great on transitions, getting in and out of scenes, and it's really terrific. Doug has been a wonderful collaborator with us on all of our work.
And what about the times when you think a scene or a statement should be there, and then that editor says, you know what, that's beating them over the head with it? Or were there times when he tried to rein you in with certain things, or was it mostly little fine details that...
I mean, our rule here is the best idea wins. And usually the best idea, it's very, very plain to see. Like, what's the best way to cut a scene? What's the best way to cut an act? What music cue works? What music cue isn't working? Etc. And so, yeah, we don't have that many disagreements, honestly. I was really lucky to work with a really talented younger editor. Doug's pretty young too, but younger than Doug. A guy named Nick Andert, and we hired him pretty much like right out of college. And he started as an assistant editor, and then he basically moved up. He became kind of the primary editor of If You Build It. And Nick has a great eye, and he's got a great ear. And I think generally the only things I would encourage Nick to do was to maybe slow down the edit a little bit. A lot of the things he cut were really pretty tight and efficient, possibly maybe a little too efficient. And so I found that I would oftentimes ask him to maybe slow some things down a little bit. But again, Nick is a lot like Doug. Nick is just a tremendous storyteller, and was really like a key part of our team on this film. I mean, it's really, I think it's as much Nick's film as it is our film. He spent over a year editing the film, and so I think he's flying that helicopter too.
He's making sure that you say everything right.
And so, you know, he just did a great job. We've been very lucky to find good editors with our work.
Do you think that quick edit is a sort of a generational thing?
I do.
Because I'm noticing for myself, being a little bit older, I like things that are slower paced. Maybe not Dinner with Andre slow paced,
right.
but good movie, excellent. But still, just a little slower. Whereas I see a lot of newer things with younger editors much faster. And I was just wondering if it's an age thing.
I think that is the case. I really do. You know, and I'm talking a second here, a second there, 5 seconds here. You know, he's really good. Nick is very, very good. It's annoying how good he is for his age. You know,
we'll still be nice to him.
Yeah, no, I mean, he's really talented. You know, I mean, I think I'm a good collaborator. I certainly try to be. And the one thing about working with editors on our films is that, like I said, like most of the footage I've shot myself. And as I'm shooting it, I take you know, notes every day at the end of a shoot. I call them my field notes. And I just write down the handful of sound bites, the handful of images, the handful of ideas that I think we're going to use in the film, or we'll try to use. I mean, we try to sift the story as we're making it. And so, you know, there are times with I think with any editor where you're like, you know, there's something in there that I think we're missing. I want you to just see if you can find this one soundbite or this one shot or something. But you know, more often than not, whether it's Doug or Nick, we work with an editor named Daniel Clark, who's terrific. They've seen it, they considered it, and then they realize it wasn't right for the scene. And actually, usually they're right. So it's fun. I mean, the editing is, I think editing is filmmaking. You know, as a cameraman, I don't know, I just always thought that, you know, when you make a movie, it's grab a camera and go shoot it. And obviously you have to have that. But if it's not well cut, it's not going to work. I mean, you have to, for our movies, you have to take 100 or 200 hours of footage and make an 85-minute film. That's really hard to do. But that's it. That's really where I think the most important work is done.